Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Join us every weekday at this time to discuss news, spend time in the Word, and receive answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, Kathy. Here we are in mid-November, or December, actually. Whoa.
December. Well, we're technically
you
in
and I
November,
in
but
November, but
our taping is December, right?
Yeah, this is going to be broadcast mid-December. I think it's the 14th, Wednesday the 14th,
Mm-hmm.
so hopefully everyone's having a good month. We will, if you haven't had a chance, go back and look at November 17th, where we're going to be sharing how do you enjoy the holidays. That's going to be our topic. We actually are going to be our own guest and with our spouses. And
enjoying the holidays is something the Cases and the Ricconis do well,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, we've learned it. And we know this actually can be a very stressful, difficult, and heavy time. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about how do you enjoy it, since God for sure wants us to enjoy holiday. And we've talked in our end times about Israel. One thing about the whole setup of the feast and the celebrations were that they had learned how to really take a break and enjoy the time of celebration together, and to release the burdens of life and to enjoy things. So we're going to talk about that.
Right. And on a regular rhythm, they did that,
which
I love. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and they're good. They were good at it. So it's something we have to learn and practice, and not let the enemy really have any success, so to speak, and turning us into the heaviness of the season, so that we actually regret it and would rather it not happen. I hear a lot of people say, "I can't wait till it's over." Which is kind of a sad comment. Is like,
absolutely,
this is supposed to be a great time. So anyway, we're going to go back and take a look at that as you get ready for your Christmas holidays. And we've been talking about prayer and the dialogue, the opportunity to live life. And again, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. It's stay in the kingdom, surrender our will to the King, be led by the King, the Holy Spirit. Seek His will. He'll get it to us. So we'll discover it, and it's going to be best and none better. And we talked about hindrances of how we, either through neglect, false understanding, resignation, stubbornness, or letting things in our, like you said before, in our patterns of life, like anger, unforgiveness, remain there with never letting God heal them. Right. He says, you're hindering the ability for me. And really, when you think about it, what are you hindering? So you're hindering the relationship. And the relationship is always with God is, I'm the King, and I have much to say and to reveal and to do in your life personally. Do you have a heart to go? And I can handle everything, and I can resolve everything, including that abuse that you had as a child. It could be even sexual abuse or emotional abuse. I can handle this. I can heal you of this. Yeah, I know you're deeply angry. I can heal that. There's let me do it. And so he says, but in order for me to do it, you have to be with me.
Right.
And let me just, give to you my will. So we talked last time about, okay, let's say that we've been taking the course with us, and we start to realize, okay, I'm starting to realize I need to be in the kingdom, and I really do want to seek God's will. And my thought always is, why would you not?
Right.
Because God's will is best and none better. It's fantastic. And again, I got to keep saying, it doesn't mean you're absent of trouble. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you got problems. It doesn't mean things have to be overcome. And for sure they do, because you're walking in both places. But when you start to realize God does deliver the covenant life,
right,
in reality and in real time, why would you not? Okay, so you say, okay, I'm willing to. Well, as we're willing to, that, interesting enough, raises up the attention of Satan and of the demonic. And that is that, they're going to go from the world, the flesh, the carnal, where they're under my influence, Satan speaking. They're now headed over to be under God's influence, and that's going to be... God's going to fulfill his
potential powerhouse there.
his purpose, and God's bigger story, which is to have more and more people join that and demonstrate the power, live out the power of God, and prove out what's already happened. And that is, the victory's already been won.
Right.
And they're going to be able to receive it and demonstrate it and give it away. Which, remember, it's a covenant. I'm going to bless you to make you a blessing. Okay, so you have the enemy. All right, so go back. We read this last time. Let's read it again. Go to Ephesians 6.
Okay.
And go ahead, read 10 to 20, and we can talk about this. Ephesians 6, 10 to 20.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day. And having done all, to stand. Stand, therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. And for me, that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that in it I may speak boldly as I ought to speak.
Yeah. So it says that you got to understand that you're fighting not in the natural, which we all understand, but rather it's the spiritual dimension of powers and principalities who, their goal is to move you away from the kingdom and away from God's will.
Right. And so to have you working and operating in the flesh and your own desires, right?
Get back to the flesh, where the power over your life actually comes from the enemy, because you've, in essence, walked away from the power that's available to you from God. And God still, and this is really profound, offers us free will.
Right.
So he doesn't force it on us, and it's not automatic. He keeps saying, if you have a heart... be with me in the kingdom, receive my will, it'll be best and none better. And the more you do that, the more you realize how beautiful it is to stay there. And I need to show you something about what the enemy's up to. And he's observing you, and he's looking at patterns and what you called triggers last time. I got to cause you to focus on self, to exit, and then go to the things that carry you away from living out God's will.
Right.
Because he's not omniscient, I'm not omnipresent, not omnipotent. So it's not like I can do things, particularly when you're in the kingdom of God. I don't really have any power against that. So I have to draw you away and get you out through what we call an open door, an open window. And I had a dream, this was several years ago. It was, I was back Linda and I were back when we were first married, and we were in our very first house that we had bought in California. And by the way, this will be shocking. The house, we bought a really brand new, beautiful new home in Southern California after I graduated from University of
So
Southern California.
around what year was this?
This is 1972.
Okay.
We bought this house for $23,000.
Now you can buy a blade of grass in
Yeah.
California for that.
Yeah. I won't go into the whole story, but we bought it on MasterCard.
Oh my goodness.
The whole thing was weird, But so the dream was I was back in that home, and I got woken up. In the dream, I got woken up, and I noticed there was somebody. There was an intruder, and I had to go take care of it. And so I went out, and I couldn't see him. The door was open, and I walked out the door to see where is he. And I looked back at the house, and the house, all the windows are open. And it's like, and then I could see him inside. I could see him through the window. He had gotten in, and he was going to steal things. And then I woke up. So I said, okay, Father, what's that about?
Right.
He says, you have open doors into your soul that the enemy can get through, and he's stealing stuff from you because you allow these open doors, open windows, that he triggers the cause and effect. And there's an open door going on with you, and I would like to close it up.
Oh, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Are you willing to let me do it? And it was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And then he went on to explain it, in detail. Okay, here's where the open door is. Here's where the open windows are. And now you got to let me walk you through the healing of that. Because the truth is, it is a way that you exit the kingdom, and the enemy has access to what's going on with you, and it happens to be, and you referred to it before as a soul wound or an issue of pattern that I'm ready to now show you, because we got to wall this up.
Right.
Not see, and this is important. He didn't say so you can manage it better.
Right.
No.
He said so you can heal it.
I'm gonna close it. And he'll stop through that door because it won't matter anymore. He won't have any power for it, because even he can hit the door all he wants to, but it's not going to matter because it'll be strengthened. Okay.
Right.
And so he took me through, and for me it was an aspect of busyness and then adversity that would cause me to go to try to figure things out myself. And I got to heal, and it wasn't like just do it better. It's no, there's a trigger that I have to get down into the depth of and heal it all off for you, and then Satan won't be able to do it. Now, that doesn't mean he won't keep trying looking for other things, but this one particularly is time for you to do this. So that what Satan's doing is observing. Where are the open doors? Where are the open windows? Right. Where are the things that I can trigger to cause you to get upset, to go to unforgiveness, to go to anger, to go to hardness, to go to resisting God's will, which is freedom and softness and beauty. And let me show you, what that is. And we'll talk about this even further next time a little bit with our unity with our spouse. But Satan is working really hard to do the opposite. I got to keep you away from having a heart to process together, because if I can keep you in division, then you're not going to be able to discover God's will.
Right.
So, and by the way, it's tricky. And here's something we need to understand, and I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the first Jurassic Park movie?
Vaguely.
Okay. It was about where they had this island, and on the island was basically an entire preserve of dinosaurs, that they had raised up from, DNA. And they have set that it's safe and no problems, etc. Well,
Right.
they start the movie, and the ranger, who happens to be an Australian guy, is taking them on a tour. And they look over at this big area that's kind of fenced in, and the guy says, "What's in there?" And he says, "Raptors." And the owner says, "Don't worry, they're safe. You're safe because they're fenced in." And the park ranger says, "I don't think so." Well, why? He says, "Well," he said, "the raptors, what they do is they're going to hit the fence every day, all the time, looking for the weakness. And when they find the weakness, they're going to hit it until they break through." And he said they're relentless. And here's the cool thing. They said they're relentless and they're never going to stop doing it. And they'll find it. And that's what we need to understand about the wiles of Satan is it's not that, I think I'll try it on Rich today. If not, I'll wait a few weeks.
We'll see what happens.
I'll wait a few weeks or months or maybe next year. No, Satan is relentless. And he's going to hit the fence all the time. What's your weakness? What's your weakness? What's your weakness? I'm going to find it. And my weakness then is let me pull you out of the kingdom so that you do not follow the will of God, but rather you're now thwarted from following the will of God. Because why? Well, because you've exited the place where God can deliver his will. And that's why Paul says, he says this multiple times through this verse, and we'll get into this later, well, stand. Okay, now this is a cool understanding. Stand. Stand. Okay. Okay, when you're standing, when you're just standing, you're stationary.
Right.
Okay, in essence, where is he telling you to stand? If his will is done in the kingdom, where is he telling you to stand?
In the kingdom.
In the kingdom. Stand in the kingdom. Stay in the kingdom. Don't walk away and exit the kingdom. Stand. Stay where you have the armor. And the armor, it says, is of who? What's the armor of? God.
The armor of God.
It's God's armor. It's God's power. Stand where you can have the armor of God. Stay in the kingdom. Stand. And then he says, pray. How often, by the way? In verse...
all the time.
always, that you're able to stand. And understand, okay, what happened? So as God was trying to show me in that dream is that I do need you to be aware. And you actually made a comment last time about when people are moving into these negative patterns, when they're moving into the struggle of it. Well, then go write it down.
Yeah. Pay attention to the triggers.
Yeah, and what God is saying is, I need you to pray that you understand why did you just exit? And is there a pattern to that? Sometimes, by the way, you just because we have a sin nature and we tend to go default to the self, we just exited because we just forgot that.
Right.
And he says, the remedy, by the way, is what? Repentance. Come on back. Let's go. Welcome back. Let's go. The gospel. How about now?
Right.
So a lot of times, and particularly as I've learned this, is there anything that you want to show me about this? And a lot of times it's like, nope, you're good. You just operate in the self. You learn to come back. Let's go. No problem.
Right.
Sometimes he said, yes, Do you
There's something bigger at play.
Do you recognize the pattern that you fall into because either of your the way that you function, the way you think, a soul wound, something else that needs to be understood? Yeah, it's time for me to heal this up. I need to wall this up. I want you to spend some time with me. Now, by the way, this is really funny. This is particularly true of because I'm dealing right now with a lot, what I call a lot of people who are what I call perfectionists, and that is they want to make sure everything is correct.
Right.
And
you have to remind them that perfectionism is not a fruit of the Spirit.
That's right. Okay, all right. I would like to get healed. I'm going to go do that perfectly. Like, no. As soon as you decide what you're going to go do, you've exited the kingdom.
Right.
Are you completely transformed? No. So when God said, I'm going to wall this up, it wasn't like, well, you can't even be in the kingdom until you wall it up. No. He says... That's
so important to talk about. Yeah.
He says, you just be with me in the kingdom.
Right.
While you're struggling with this pattern, which I'll transform, I'll do the work, and I'm going to be the one healing you, and you just got to stay with me. How am I going to
just stay with me?
How am I going to heal you? Through my word and my process of prayer with you, to where you receive my spiritual power to wall it up. It's such a beautiful thing, and that's why he says pray all the time. And you got to pray by standing in the kingdom. You got to understand that the enemy has wiles, has strategies, has tactics, and don't ignore that, but recognize, that I've got, power over it. Okay, now go to Daniel chapter 10, and Daniel actually speaks a little bit about this battle. Daniel 10, 10 through 15.
And suddenly a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak to you and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. While he was speaking this word to me, I stood trembling. And then he said to me, do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, and behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had been left alone there with the kings of Persia. Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the latter days, for the vision refers to many days yet to come.
Okay, go ahead.
When he had spoken such words to me, I turned my face toward the ground and became speechless.
Yep. Okay, so... Daniel, this is about prayer, and we've been talking about him in our end times process. Daniel received a vision, and Daniel's prayer was what? It was really simple. I've got this vision. What was his prayer to God?
Show me what this is.
What the heck is this?
Yeah.
Would you help me understand this? You gave it to me. Now, by the way, he's learned something.
But I don't get it yet.
No, but remember, he learned something a long time ago. When Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he was going to kill everybody, including Daniel and his friends, Daniel says, hey, give me a couple days. Let me go to my God and see if I can both receive what you dreamt, since you're requiring us to do that, and the interpretation of it.
Right.
Okay, so he goes there, and you can read this in chapter 2 of Daniel. He receives it. And what he did was he went with his friends, and they prayed. We got a problem here. What do you have to say about this? Could you reveal to us both the dream and the interpretation of the dream? Which he did.
Right.
And then he did it, and then he goes to Nebuchadnezzar and said, okay, here's the answer, which was right. But he said, I want you to know something. It's not because I have any skill at this. This isn't because of how clever I am. I asked God, who gave me revelation and showed me the answer. because I had something that I wasn't sure of, but I knew that he would give me the answer. Okay, so he's practiced this. Now he gets a vision. And when he gets the vision, does he understand it? No.
He doesn't, but he understands that God can help him too.
So he prays, Father, would you show me what you have given me? Because I don't understand anything about it. Help me understand this. Okay, so Michael shows up and says, hey, we heard you 21 days ago.
Right.
And as soon as you prayed it, we sent to give you the answer. But it took a while.
Right.
Okay, how come?
Because there was a spiritual battle going on
There's
for
a
21 days.
spiritual
right
battle.
there.
So it's not about that. Well, because of something you did. It's that you weren't involved in this at all.
Right.
This is coming from the dimension of the spiritual realm that, and remember, Paul says, you have you're fighting against the enemy who's working on you. He's working on your patterns. He's working on strategies to get you out of the kingdom because he's got to appeal to yourself. Instead of following God, I get you to follow self and then exit. While that's also going on, guess what? He's fighting us who are trying to get you answers that is in the spiritual dimension that we're in a fight over. Now, by the way, and he implies this, was Satan successful in stopping him from getting him the answer? No. So no. He didn't say, yeah, sometimes we don't make it. No, we'll make it. You just need to understand.
Just got to stay with them. Yeah.
You got to understand because Daniel was saying, God, could you tell me the answer? And kind of, I think, believed what he had with Nebuchadnezzar. It was pretty fast. In this case, it's not.
Right.
And part of what Daniel was saying was, am I not going to get this answer? I thought you were going to give me an answer, but I'm getting nothing. And he says, well, there's a timing to it. There's spiritual warfare going on. There's things that are happening where there's a battle. Now remember, we know something. Christ has already won the battle. So it's not a matter of it's going to wind up where you're not going to get it. It's that understand, and really what he's trying to say to us is this. There's a spiritual aspect happening that you need to be aware of. And that's why Paul says stand. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it until you know the answer, which is the story that Jesus gave in Luke 11.
Right.
Be persistent until you know the answer.
Right.
And there's timing involved. There's processes involved. There's spiritual stuff going on. You just stay with me until you know that you know that you know. And I'll get you the answer. And recognize that the enemy's trying to pull you away from that, one. And two is there's a whole spiritual dimension going on that you actually don't even know per se, other than to know that it's going on. And so don't get upset, don't get frustrated, don't worry. We'll get you the answer, and recognize that a hindrance is either we say, well, because I didn't get the answer as fast as I wanted it, I'll just go do it myself. And God says, no, stand.
Don't
wait,
do that,
wait,
right?
until I receive it. So recognize that one of the hindrances to prayer is the very, very work of the enemy, which the only aspect he's really got is to have you exit the kingdom through the patterns, through the holes, or that he's working to delay the answer and you then act on it.
Right.
I
love.
Go ahead.
Yeah, even as you talk about that, I think back to the first verse we read, or the beginning of what we read about Daniel, and it said, understand that the words I speak to you, I stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. Oh, here we go. Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard.
Right.
And so what you're talking about is our responsibility there is understanding that God will speak in our prayer and humbling ourselves before that and standing fast and continuing to seek it regardless of the weight, regardless of the timing, but coming from that posture of expectation and humility.
Right.
And staying firm in that of who we trust him to be who he says he is and to do what he says he'll do. And his word promises us that he will speak.
Exactly.
He will deliver. And so we stay firm on those promises that is the case until we do hear.
Yep. So keep praying that way. Understand we do have a adversary that's trying to thwart it. Don't let him. We'll talk more about that next time. And then we're going to talk about this whole aspect of unity and staying with it with our spouses, our friends, our inner circle, of why this is such a critical piece. And if we don't, we're actually hindering the very process that God has given us. So we'll get into that again next time and pick it up next week, actually.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us, everyone. If you found today helpful, just remember to be a friend and tell a friend. Pass on the podcast. Just a reminder, too, as we're coming into this season, there are some beautiful, beautiful courses online that it's a great thing even to gift people, I would say. Gifting people a subscription to that and just helping them, somebody who needs to understand what it is to abide and to seek God's best. And when we have something we love, we want to give it away. And we all know the truth and the power of his words. So I just encourage you, go to the website, check it out, maybe even give it away to somebody this season as a Christmas gift.
Yep, that'd be good.
So,
all right, we will see you next time.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.